This is the first film in a 4-part investigation series into Avebury, Silbury Hill and West Kennet Longbarrow, a journey through archaeology, myth and the possibility of a living Earth. What if ancient monuments of Britain were not random relics of a forgotten past, but acupuncture needles in the body of the Earth itself? Just as Chinese medicine places needles into the meridians of the human body to restore balance and health, what if ancient builders placed stones, ditches and mounds into the earth meridians of the land? Today we step into Avebury, Silbury Hill and West Kennet Longbarrow, 3 of the most enigmatic sites in the British landscape, to explore the line between archaeology, myth and mystery. And welcome to Albion Key, a series within the Adventures in Gonzo Vision channel. Here we decode the deeper layers of history, myth and landscape. Avebury in Wiltshire is the largest stone circle in Britain. Its great earthwork forms a circle nearly 400 metres across. The surrounding ditch is around 10 metres deep and up to 50 metres wide, a colossal feat of engineering by any standard. Archaeologists place Avebury in the late Neolithic from 2600 to 2400 BC. Based on 3 main clues. First, radiocarbon dates on antler picks found at the base of the ditch. Second, dates from human and animal bones recovered within the site. And third, grooved ware-tar pottery, a style associated with that period and with the wider Wessex culture zone that links Avebury, Stonehenge and other nearby sites. Taken together, these lines of evidence show that people were using and probably reworking the site in the late Neolithic, but they do not by themselves prove when the Great Bank, ditch and stone circles were first created. The radiocarbon date tells us when antlers and bones were deposited. The grooved ware-tar pottery simply anchors that activity in the same era as with other sites in the wider Wessex region, linking Avebury, Stonehenge and nearby monuments. From this, archaeologists model a construction from around 2600 to 2400 BC. A reasonable working hypothesis, but still an interpretation rather than a demonstrated starting point. Inside the ditch, deer antlers as digging tools has a central role in this interpretation. Radiocarbon dating of these antlers gives a cluster of dates around the mid-3rd millennium BC, so the dominant narrative becomes antler picks were the tools, this is when the ditch was dug, therefore this is when Avebury was made. This suggests that Neolithic people were using antlers in a purely functional primitive way. Yet the wider archaeological record tells a different story. At Starkar, Britain's earliest known structure, from around 9000 BC, red deer skulls were carefully shaped into ceremonial headdresses. Across prehistoric Europe, antlers would more often appear as regalia, ritual objects, and high-status deposits, symbols of protection, authority and spiritual power, not as everyday digging tools. Seen in that light, reducing Avebury's ditch antlers to mere implements feels like an oversimplification. Radiocarbon dating tells us when these antlers ended up in the ditch, not when the ditch itself was created. The evidence proves late Neolithic activity, but not necessarily a late Neolithic origin. And in any case, the deeper question is not just when Avebury was made, but what kind of thinking lay behind its creation. The sheer scale, geometry and labor required to make it is difficult to dismiss as primitive. Within Avebury's great bank and ditch stand 2 inner stone circles, and outside it run avenues of paired stones that once snaked away across the fields. William Stukeley, the 18th century antiquarian, believed he saw here not just a stone circle, but a giant stone serpent, coiling through the great circle aligned with the sun. Modern archaeology interprets Avebury as a ceremonial landscape, a monumental gathering place perhaps used for rituals, processions, and seasonal festivals. In the absence of texts, the language of ceremony has become a kind of placeholder, a way of saying important without specifying why. However, to a geomancer, the stones themselves are the record, marking flows of energy in the land. In that view, Avebury may be less a stage for ceremony and more a device, a constructed instrument whose stones sit on subtle currents and nodes like acupuncture needles placed in the body of the earth. You're watching Albion Key, a channel dedicated to the mystery of ancient Britain. And you've been watching the first episode in Avebury Beyond the Antler Picks. Stick around for more, because we've only just begun. If Avebury stones are more than props for ceremony, what are they doing? To answer that, we need to look at acupuncture itself, and the idea that the earth may have meridians too. In the next episode, we follow the question into what acupuncture actually is, how meridians are mapped, and then what a geomancer really does.